Hello, Colin here from midlifemaverick.com with a video I've entitled How to Get Unstuck Fast. Now, the way this video came about is I get a lot of questions sent to me, and I like to do, or I suggested a webinar called the Power Hour webinar, and not everybody could make it. So rather than doing a webinar and not being able to get to as many people as possible, what I thought I would do is take the questions that you've sent through and put them in a video, which, as you see, how to get unstuck fast. So the way this video works basically is I'm going to share with you tips, strategies and resources to help you get unstuck. I'm going to answer your questions, and I think there's the opportunity for all of us to learn from other people's questions. So it may not be a question that you have, but the tip or the strategy or the resource might be something that you're very interested in. And so these are what I call 5-minute fixes. They're quick, they're to the point, they're practical things that you can read or do that can get you back and moving again. And under this video, I have time-stamped each question. So if you're in a hurry, which we typically are in today's world, you can go straight to the answer or the information that you are looking for. So let's get started. So this is Jill Davis, this is her question. I'd like to ask this though, which perhaps you could cover. My issue seems to be mostly around self-confidence. I have no problem with setting goals that I have a real passion for, but I seem to be easily belittled by other people's views about what's important. As an example, my chosen career as a counsellor so far hasn't earned me a penny, but it has helped me bring great shifts in perspectives for some of my young clients and more job satisfaction than any pay job I have ever done. I know its value, but why am I stymied by put-downs, possibly perceived by me, from others? Is it simply a case of acquiring a Teflon coating and allowing people's stuff to slide off? Does that make sense? I don't know how else to put it. Thank you. All right, Jill, so your question is, how do I overcome other people's put-downs? And this is something that I believe will never, ever go away. It's not something that by doing something you're going to be able to stop. And let me explain why. Firstly, rejection equals growth. Well, as you grow as an individual, you will experience rejection. The bigger the goals that you set for yourself, the more rejection you're likely to encounter. And rejection comes in many forms, and one of them is what you're experiencing here, where often people reject your idea or reject what's important to you. And it is often the people that are around us that love us the most are the ones that can be the best examples of people that reject us. But as you grow, see, it's not about getting, it's about becoming. The reason we set goals is not to get, it's to become more of who we really are, to self-actualize. And as you do that, then you won't fit the map and the models and the expectations people have of you. And they will reject you for it. If you've been in a left-turn tribe, and you want to make a right turn, the left turn tribe will definitely reject you. And they will say things to you as a result. Maybe now you want to go to the gym and you don't want to go to the pub. And the right turn crew, the gym crew, will say it's a good thing to do, but the left turn crew, the pub crew, will say, what the hell are you doing? What does it matter? Are you into some sort of fad at the moment? And so it goes. So understand that it's never going to go away. So what we've all got to become better at is the ability to deal with rejection when we experience it. So, first thing, are they confirming your story? Now, you indicated this in your question, but in some situations, you might be interpreting someone's comments as a put down when actually none was ever intended. And this can be because what you're doing is you're expecting or you're experiencing on the outside a representation of a story you've got going on the inside. So it's your expectation that's being met. You expect to be rejected or belittled, and and so you see what you believe, if you like. So it's always worth checking your own story and the story that you have in your head. Because if it is to do with your story, then you need to change that story into something that is more powerful and more true of who you are as an individual. Always remember that you have a choice. I know, I've experienced it. I put my hand up to this as well. It's very easy when we experience rejection or we're belittled to feel powerless. But we can recognize that we are always in a position to make a choice, and we can choose to be the victim and take what's said as the truth, or we can choose to remember who we really are and stand tall. And always remember that you have a choice as to how you respond, and define yourself when you experience some sort of put down. You have a choice at how it affects you. You can choose to be bigger. You can choose to be stronger as a result of it. So let's look at some comment comebacks. Now, when you experienced what you believe to be somebody belittling you or rejecting you or looking to make you feel bad so they feel good, because it's always about them, never about you at the end of the day, you can say thanks for your opinion, because it is their opinion. It's very hard for them to argue with that. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for your opinion. Appreciate it. Doesn't mean that you have to take their opinion on board, but you're thanking them for it. Another one is thank you. You might be right. They might be right. It might be good feedback, but you want to go away and check it out and validate it based on your own experience. So thank you. You might be right is another way. So two good comebacks. And if you do experience a sort of belittling and you walk away and you're not feeling good, use this simple rocket release technique. It's a technique that I learned years ago. It's really powerful. So all you basically do is, if you're feeling belittled or you're not feeling great as a result of a conversation you've had with someone because they've rejected an idea or you felt they've rejected you, then what I suggest you do is you close your eyes and you imagine taking what they said and writing it on a piece of paper. You can actually physically write it on a piece of paper as well. So get it out of your head onto a piece of paper. And then what you do is you imagine that you put that into a rocket, like a firework type rocket, and you light that rocket and it goes up into the sky and then explodes into beautiful, vibrant, energizing rainbow colors, typical firework. The difference is now, as all of the little sprinkles come down, they cover you and they change how you feel. So you imagine all of those little sprinkles coming down and causing you to feel powerful, energized, motivated, confident, all those great feelings. So let all of them change how you feel right the way down to a cellular level. And then when you're feeling really good, you can think about the experience and reframe it. What could you learn from this experience about you? What has this experience taught you about you? Maybe it's shown, it was a test and it's shown your resolve that no, this is the direction I'm going in because it's really important to me. So it was a test and the person just wanted to test you. So reframe it, Jill, and find a good way of looking at it which is much more resourceful. So there you go. You're always going to be rejected. You're always going to be put down. That will never go away. That's part and parcel of setting and achieving goals. Secondly, always check to see whether or not they're confirming your story. You have a choice. Have some good comebacks and use the rocket release technique. Hope you found that useful. Peter Berry, question. I have read a little about the law of attraction in the past, and at a intuitive level, I get this approach could help stack the odds in your favor. I like the comment you made that it doesn't matter if you believe it or not because it works anyway. I'm a meditator, sometimes anyway, and you could say the same thing about meditation. However, Wikipedia entry on the law of attraction says bluntly that there is no scientific evidence to support it. And from my previous reading, I found one quickly gets into the notions of God, which frankly makes me uncomfortable. Please, could you give me some comments on this? Thanks. All right, Peter, this is a great one. A lot of people ask this question: is the law of attraction true? Where is the evidence? Is it all made up? So it's a really good question. And one of the things that I suggest is take nothing that gurus, even if you put me in that camp, say for the truth. Always check it out against your own experience. Your own experience is far more powerful. Now, the thing is with the law of attraction, when I say, well, there's no evidence to suggest, okay, so no one's proved that it actually exists. Well, no one's proved that it doesn't exist as well. No one has been able to actually prove that it doesn't exist. There's people that say that it doesn't exist, but they also don't have any proof that it doesn't exist. So now, where do we start? Well, here's where I started with this myself, because I was no different. So firstly, what has been proven is that everything is made of the same stuff, which is energy. This has been scientifically proven now. The whole universe is energy-based. All forms of matter, whether that's gas or liquid or solid, are all made of energy. And we now understand at the atomic or subatomic level that all things can be broken into smaller and smaller components, which all end up being from the same kind of energy. And we, human beings, are also energy, so we're also part of the same matrix that connects anything. But as I said, rather than believe the gurus, validate this with your own experience. So what I suggest you do is you become your own energy detective. Peter, check your energy levels and notice where they go and notice the results. So when you go there first with your energy, you let life correspond to it and notice the results that it brings you. Now, it is important that your energy is a positive energy, right? So, confidence, love, abundance, all of these are very positive, caring, very positive emotions. So it is important that you have some discipline around what you think about, what you feel about, and what you talk about, because it's this then that creates your energy. And this is why I say become an energy detective. And, we become magnetically attractive based on the energy that we're experiencing. So if we want to be happy and fulfilled, it's important that we think, say, and feel positive in order for that to happen. Then what I do suggest is you just pay attention to what happens in your life. Now, I know if you meditate, then you're already on track with this. You meditate because of you have personal validation that it works, that it does something for you. So forget the law of attraction for this moment in time. Validate your own experience. Pay attention to your energy. Notice the results that it brings you. And then let that be your validation that something must be going on. Whenever you're positive, good things seem to happen. Whenever you're negative, bad things seem to happen. That's very simplistic, I know. And it doesn't always correspond quite like that. Nevertheless, check it out for yourself. There is proof that everything is made of the same stuff now. That's undeniable at this moment in time. So use what has been proven and validate your own experience. And a good resource that I recommend you checking out, if you've not heard of this before, Peter, is whatthebleep.com. There's a movie that came out a while ago, fantastic movie, fantastic book. So if you really want to understand this in more detail and take your level of understanding much, much deeper, have a read and have a watch of What the Bleep. It's got all about quantum physics in there and how it all works. And it's really, really well put together. It's a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed it. It really opened my eyes to a few things as well. So hopefully that was useful. All right, Tina, your emails are fantastic. your personality is great and I appreciate your transparency. It's great. You know I lag in belief. Belief I'm going to get through school. Belief that I'm going to get a good grade. Lack of confidence. I've been practicing slowing down and reflecting. Pay on the back of my type A personality. I also how to find the right man which correlates with what I want in life. Thanks, Colin. All right, Tina. So your question is, how do I build self-belief? Now, no matter what we want to achieve in life, self-belief is absolutely vital. And you've said that you want to attract, the perfect man in your life. Well, your belief in that being possible is going to be the differentiator here. But how many of us, and I put my hand up to this, are guilty of not doing or trying things because we lack belief in ourselves? Many of us fail to believe in ourselves because others didn't at some time. And we started to believe, and this might be when we were young and children and growing up, and someone didn't believe in us and we began to take that belief on board, and that belief now begins to control our lives. And the thing is, when we don't believe in ourselves, we allow self-doubt to creep in. And it becomes like an unwelcome house guest, one that keeps calling round simply because at one point in our life, we let them into our mental house. Now, doubts such as, well, can I really do this? Why are other people better than me, smarter than me, cleverer than me? What will other people think of me if I do this? What if I screw up? Why can't I? These are all doubts that we've all experienced at one time in another. Now, all beliefs are learned. Every belief is learned. So that's good to know, especially if it's a limiting belief, because we can unlearn it for something that's far more powerful. And how do we do that? Well, first thing we do is we change the question. Now, when you think about self-doubt comes from a lousy question. Like, can I really do this? That's a lousy question. It's going to bring in self-doubt or the chance of self-doubt. So whenever we experience self-doubt, it's always good to look at what was the question that I just asked myself and then come up with a better question. How can I achieve this? Is a better question. How can I achieve this and have fun? Is a better question. So first thing to do is to look at what questions you're asking yourselves, journal them, and then change them into a more empowering question. Second thing you can do is mental rehearsal, is actually visualize the best you and how the best you would deal with the current situation that you're in. And if you've watched the Mind Power, which I know you have, Tina, the Mind Power training, you'll know that getting into a state of alpha, the brainwave state of alpha, is once again really important if you're going to reprogram limiting beliefs that sit in the subconscious mind. There's beta, alpha, theta, and delta. Alpha is the gateway to the subconscious mind. So you're doing it, you're slowing down, which is fantastic, but mentally rehearsing, adding some mental rehearsal to that and seeing yourself the best you dealing with it. So what you can do is you can just close your eyes, see the best you or create the best you in front of you, and then step into the best you and see the world through the best you, and notice how the best you would deal with these situations which in the past have brought about self-doubt. But now in the best you have a very different feeling, much more confident, much more powerful, much more resourceful feelings. And then use that experience in order to move forward and make the decisions that you make. And here's the 10-10-10 diet, I call it. Very simple, very straightforward. So 10 minutes a day, you read good material, watch good positive material. Self-help, anything, any great videos on YouTube that are positive, that are uplifting, that are energizing. 10 minutes of watching and reading good information. You remember that computer saying, G-I-G-O, garbage in, garbage out. We're bombarded by negativity. Negativity comes in the form of conversations with people, the news, the media. Soap operas often are full of negativity. So we have to tip the balance with something more positive. GIGO could be good in, good out. We've got to put some good in. Second 10 minutes around mental rehearsal and positive affirmations. Rehearsing, if you've built yourself your vision board, which I strongly recommend, look at those pictures, think about those pictures, imagine your life. See that as your future photo album and live the experience of achieving those now. Do it for 10 days. Now, the rule for 10 days is if you miss a day where you don't do a 10-10, you have to start all over again. Simple as that. It's a 10-day challenge. It's a 10-day commitment to do that. And when you do that, you're going to start to work on those beliefs. And once again, Tina, this is not something that will ever go away. As you set bigger goals for yourself, you will bump into self-limiting beliefs. It will never go away. It's part and parcel of growing. And to have the skill to be able to reprogram beliefs is absolutely vital on your journey to the person who you really are. Because as you set this goal now to attract this ideal man into your life, I guarantee that there'll be some beliefs in there that are going to get in the way, and you've got to work on those in order to do that. So I hope you found that useful. A few top tips there to get you going and dealing with your limiting beliefs. Helen Storkmeyer. Hi Colin, I'm so glad you asked. I'm finding myself in slow motion at work, not very motivated because I hardly getting any input from my boss. Although I kind of know what I need to do, I'm not feeling energized and tend to procrastinate lately, finding other more entertaining things to do. I drove myself so hard last year and I'm feeling a bit flat now. Don't get me wrong, I love my job as a talent development manager, but I need to find that renewed energy that will allow me to stop procrastinating. Any suggestions? All right, Helen. So how do I get myself motivated again? Well, first thing that I check out with any of my clients around anything like this are what their values are, what their career values are. So you may already know this, but if you don't, you've got to know what your career values are. What's most important to you under the category of career. Because values are energizing. It's the energizing aspect of what makes us who we are. So figure out what your values are. How do you do that? Well, firstly, you ask the question, what's important to me at work? So simple question, grab yourself a piece of paper and a pen, or if you like to do it on your laptop, then open up a Word document and answer that question, what's important to me at work? And start to list out your values. Now, obviously, based on what you've said with the question, to get input, to get feedback is important to you. So that's one of your values and it's not being met, all right? So maybe it's challenge, maybe you like to have a sense of fun, maybe you like freedom, learning, growing, whatever it is, list your values, think about it, reflect on it, and get a list of values. Once you've got your list, second thing you do is you find out what's most important. You want to create a hierarchy now of the most to the least important. So the simple way to do this is take your values, let's say you've got value 1 and value 2, and you think about 2 job opportunities. Job opportunity is going to bring you more value 1, and job opportunity 2 is going to bring you more value 2. Which job would you choose? You go, I like 2, I'd choose 2. Well then obviously 2, value number 2, is more important than value number 1. And then you go down every single one of the values and you then start to work out what's most important to what's least important. And I would stop at 7. Knowing your top 7 values is absolutely enough, and enough for you to be able to do the work that really motivates you. Once you know what your important values are, the next thing to do is to see how much they're being actually met. So I like to put a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is being met fully and 1 is not being met at all. And then what you do is you score. So we know that if, for instance, based on what you've said, that the need for input is important, the need for feedback is important. If you're not getting that, if that's not being met, you'd score that real low. Now, if your top 3 values are not being met, you will not be happy and satisfied, and you will distract yourself, and you will look for ways to get those values met in other ways. That's why distraction happens. If they are being met, you're going to be energized and motivated and passionate and exciting and loving what you are doing. So it's really important that you know what your values are, you know what the hierarchy are, and you know what's being met and what's not being met. Lastly then, you need to go and have a conversation with your manager to look at how do you get your values met. How can you help your manager to help you get those values met? If you like feedback and you're not getting it, then you need to have that conversation with your boss. And often, this is the scary part of this process, through fear of rejection or not being understood or thinking that I'm an idiot. Nevertheless, in order for you to be able to make a qualified decision about going forward, you need to explore your values, how to get your values met with your manager. And it isn't necessarily about the manager changing, it's also about what could you do to help the manager. So it starts with knowing what's important, having a hierarchy, going then and having that conversation to look at how do you get those values met. Once those values begin to be met, again, you'll be re-energized and re-motivated, and it won't be about willpower, it will be about flow. So I hope that helped you. Thanks for the question, Helen. All right, John Grimm. Okay, I have a 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. work day of late. My question is, what would be the best approach as far as committing to a love attraction goal involving my dream girl who is also working a tight daily schedule day to day? Sincerely, a discipline of the human soul. Thank you. Yes, John, you are absolutely spot on there. And my goodness me, that is a long day. Now, I am making some assumptions in this question. I am assuming that you are with your dream girl right now. It's not a goal to find or attract your dream girl. So if I've got that wrong, I do apologize. Just send me an email and I'll rethink the question for next time. So, question, how do we keep the romance alive when we're both really, really busy? Good question, and essential, because time in a relationship, especially a brand new relationship, is the most important aspect. Spending time together, getting to know one another, getting to understand one another is really important. If that's really squeezed, then it can be really, really challenging. And it sounds like you're both really, really busy. So finding creative ways to keep the flame burning for each other is essential if you want to strengthen your relationship. So, firstly, I would suggest planning quality time together. If you don't put it in a diary, it's probably not going to happen. The example I give here is date nights. This is something my wife and I use. So you plan that time in the diary. It becomes a big rock, and you both commit fully and wholeheartedly to keeping and protecting that time. So that would be my first suggestion. Secondly, and more importantly, you got to learn what your partner's emotional needs are. So here you need to do a little bit of studying and a little bit of asking questions, because if you've got restricted time together, you need to know what's going to make that time meaningful for your partner. And it is interesting, is it not? I'm going to use romance here, that a man considers romance to be one way, and a female can consider romance to be another. A female can provide many romantic gestures which can go totally unnoticed by a man because it wasn't romantic for him. And the man can spend precious time doing what he thinks will be romantic for his wife, only to discover that she doesn't appreciate it at all. So what's wrong here? Are the gestures that are being extended not romantic or thoughtful? Nope. Are the recipients ungrateful and self-absorbed? Nope. But each person is simply not romancing their partner in the way that they like to be romanced. So you've got to study your partner. You've got to find out what romance means to them, what love means to them, what a relationship means to them, what time together means to them. And I found out this can be very surprising for both partners. So you've got to do your homework here. So asking questions. What's important to you about our time together? What things would you like to do in our time? What needs do you need being met that I am not meeting for you, would like for me to meet for you? And questions like this is about studying, really studying your partner and really finding out. I'd say it's important. And then the last thing is, you've got to meet them. You've got to meet what your partner's emotional needs are. And when you've got restricted time, you've got to make sure that you make that time really, really special and really, really meaningful. And that, because it could be that one of your partner's emotional needs could be around commitment, for instance, that you're really committed. And so you have to demonstrate you're really committed. You have to demonstrate that this time is important and I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep it in there. And I'm going to commit myself wholeheartedly to this time. If that's one of the emotional needs and you're not showing that, then they're not going to have those needs met. And that's where relationships can get into trouble and they can begin to crack and fall apart. And it's often not to do with compatibility. It's often to do with emotional needs not being met, not understood by each other. So, John, I hope that helps. It's really important that you do find that out, and that let me know how you get on if you do that. Love to hear. Diana Ray, okay, this is quite a big one. So, hi Colin, I find my mind plays tricks on me. Here I am, keen to make changes, up for the challenge of taking a chance, really in need of an income now. Saw a job advert, felt excited, yes, I can do that, began to learn, experience, and then started backing off. Where is the initial excitement gone? Yes, I can do that, but do I want to? Question mark. Think I've been influenced by someone else. Frightening thing is, I thought it was really my desire. So that's the same question we had a little bit earlier on, about how do you deal with rejection? How do you deal with someone knocking you off track? Hope you listened to the way that I answered that question, Diane. That could be really useful. Got a job today. Been waiting for this one. Trouble is it's casual. Need to be available each morning. No regular money then. Otherwise, I've had a job offer, regular work, 5 mornings a week. Third one, yes, 3 offers in a day. This one was the one I was speaking about above. It was exciting, but it's not me. Now then, which one do I go for? The first one, hands down, but am I daft? Sometimes deep down inside me is saying, go for the first. What's the dilemma? What was a dilemma is turning into a choice as I speak to you. It doesn't solve my financial situation, but it's what I want to do. Where is the common sense, Colin? Where will it lead me? I do not know. This constant mind chatter drives me crazy. I cannot find the logic. I'm following my heart at the same time and stressing about the responsibility of life. So some really good stuff in here, Diane, and yes, totally get what's going on and can't find the logic. Constant mind chatter is driving me crazy. All right, so here's what typically happens. So I've put this as the question, how do I make the right decision? And often we get ourselves stuck on an internal loop, going round and round in circles in our mind in this constant mind chatter. So we stay in logic. And you're right, there is a battle between logic and emotion. And emotion will always win. So what I suggest is follow energy, not ideas. Your energy should be what you use as an indicator of what to do decision-wise, not head ideas. So follow heart energy, not head ideas. Both are important, but really the primary, not secondary, primary decision-making process is energy. What energizes you? So there's my life path optimizer questions. You will have seen these when you've been on the Follow Your Smile or read the Follow Your Smile. So you'll know these. It's a case of really applying these now, Diane, and really using these questions. So first question is, am I at a choice point? Yes, you are. Now there's many choice points. They're what I call daily choice points and life choice points. Daily choice points. Should I go to this restaurant or that restaurant? Should I wear this dress or that dress? Should I buy this brand of bread or that brand of bread? These are daily choice points, right? They don't really affect our lives in big ways. But there are life choice points. Getting married or not getting married, having a baby or not having a baby, choosing a different career or staying in the career, moving to a new country or stay. These are big life choice points. And these are the ones that really shape the next chapter of our lives. And these are the ones that these questions are really targeted to, or they could be used on daily as well. So am I at a choice point? Are you at a choice point? Yes. Now, you must keep in mind what your outcome is. You want to make money. That's your goal. That's your aim. That's your intention. So once you've got that goal, aim and intention, and you realize you're at a choice point, next thing is then, well, what are my options? And this is where you use your head ideas. You brainstorm using head ideas. I suggest you create yourself an options tree, draw a tree in front of you on a piece of paper, get yourself a load of post-it notes, sticky post-it notes. They represent the fruit of your ideas, and you write one idea per post-it note. So you just take the idea from your head, put it down. What are all the different options that you have available to you? And then lastly, what option is the most energizing? Out of all of them, what's the most energizing? Anything 8 and above is definitely worth exploring and moving forward with. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't do something that isn't quite as energizing, because it's essential, it's going to bring money in, and it's only for a short period of time. You might do that, but you're making a decision based on knowing that rather than not knowing that and being confused. So then you look at your 8 and abovs, and then you do a little bit more extra work on them. You do some research on them. You look at consequences. It might mean that you have to travel for that one, but you don't have to travel for that one. Well, how important is travel to you? How important is it being at home is to you? So you take all that into consideration before you move forward. So, am I at a choice point? What are my options? Which option is the most energizing? Those 3 questions can really, really help you get some clarity and know you're making the right decision. And it should always be energy that you use. So thanks for the question. Okay, Richard. Let me just have a quick swig of my tea. Lovely. So Richard's questions. Hi, Colin. A few questions to kick things off. When setting goals, how do you maintain momentum in ensuring that you selfishly pursue what you're setting out to achieve? 2, what's the best way to motivate yourself to focus on what is intrinsically important whilst maintaining the necessary balance with extrinsic motivations? 3, what tips have you for ensuring that we remain at an optimum level of personal power and avoid what could otherwise become distractions? For me, this is about balance between long-term plans and short-term priorities. Hope you're well. Flights are booked for the Follow Your Smile retreat. All right, Richard, you've got 3 questions here, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to answer all 3 with what I've set out. So what I've done is I've thought a little bit about it and thought of the question, how do I ensure momentum in the achievement of my goals? So first thing is get your priorities straight. And it sounds like you've done that. If not, it's really important. What are your priorities? Because we can't manage time, we can only manage our priorities. Time management doesn't actually exist, but priority management absolutely does. So we've got to be clear on what are our priorities. What's the priorities for the year, for the quarter, for the month, for the week, and be really, really clear on those. And then from your priorities, you can create yourself an absolute, 100% absolute yes list. All right, your 100% yes list. And this is the things that you want to say yes to. So you might be, yes to running 3 times a week. Yes to spending two nights a week reading stories to my children before they go to bed. Yes to spending quality time with my wife, etc. So you have your absolute yes list. Your 100% yes list. The things that you need to say yes to, because they're your highest priorities. Now, once you know what those are, the next step then is to develop your no muscle. So say no unless it's 100% yes. And in today's world where we're bombarded by priorities from work, from home, and if we're into our sport or we have some sort of hobby from our hobby, it's very easy to say yes to too much. And then we dilute and water down and become distracted away from our main priorities. So saying no unless it's an absolute yes is a key skill. So in order to do that and to get clearer on this, I recommend the stop, breathe, feel technique. Every time that you are being asked to take something else on board, you stop, you breathe, you feel. So stop, take a deep breath and feel what it will be like to say yes. And if your energy goes up, it's probably connected to your priorities. It's something that's energizing and exciting. If your energy goes down and you become drained, it's probably you then going to say yes to something you should be saying no to. And it's easy to say no when you've got a bigger yes burning inside. This was something I learned from Stephen Covey from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So stop, breathe, feel technique, and then once you feel that, yeah, this isn't, at that point then you need to have a conversation, say no, or find a way of saying no politely. Or even if you say yes, you understand that this is the consequences, that you're going to feel stressed as a result of it, and the worst is actually feeling resentful. We feel resentful to the person when it actually wasn't the person, it was us saying yes. So always better to be able to say no immediately and say yes to something that's more important. And then list 5 things that you need to start saying no to. And when I did this exercise, I come up with 15 things that I needed to say no to. 5 things. What's 5 things that you need to start saying no to in order to be able to say yes to what is most important, so that you can ensure motivation in the achievement of what is important to you. So I hope you found that useful, Richard. Let me know how you get on once you apply that. Okay, Brian Oak. Hi, Colin. Here's one for you. Whilst enjoying the process of setting an intention and longer term plans, these are all fixed in my mind, keeping me focused and heading in the right direction. I really do struggle with the discipline and seeming formality of breaking these down into more discrete and shorter term goals actions. My psyche seems to react against the structure and feels too much like work and not enough room for going with the flow and where my positive energy is. I have not had a problem with the intention statement manifestation and the small amount of planning that you encourage in the process. My wildlife-friendly garden is a good example, but the idea of trying to plan out detailed actions for every week leaves me feeling cold. Any suggestions, Brian? All right, so the question here is, do I need to create a detailed plan in order to achieve my goals? Well, in one word, Brian, the answer is no. Of course you don't, all right? And there is a danger for all of us here, and this is the danger, duality thinking, that the brain likes to think this or that, either or. So you either create a detailed plan or you go a bit more with the flow. And so you're going to work with one or the other, and that's really dangerous. When I learned a lovely phrase from, what was the book? It was Jim Collins' Good to Great. That was the book that I got this from. He called it the tyranny of the or versus the power of the and. So the tyranny of the or versus the power of the and. So the or is something we've got to watch, this or that. If you put an and in there, you can do both. In certain contexts, you may want a more detailed plan. In another context, you might want it less structured and a bit more sort of flowing. It depends on the context, it depends on the situation, it depends on the goal. For you, it's important that you pay attention to what works for you. And I've said this before, but follow energy, not ideas. If it's energizing to leave it a bit more free flow, then leave it a bit more free flow. Now, notice the results that it brings you. If it's not bringing you the results, and you actually need to be a bit more detailed, well, that's good feedback, then you need to do it. But if not, then follow that. If in a certain area you need to be a bit more detailed, then do that. So for me, for instance, with my health goals, if I don't plan my run in each week when I'm going to get that run in each week or get to the gym each week, it typically doesn't happen. I have to come right the way down to weekly planning and decide which day. So today, very busy day today. I did my run when I first woke up this morning. It's not my ideal time. It's not the time that I actually enjoy running. I'm not necessarily that great first thing in the morning. But if I didn't get the run in this morning, it probably wouldn't happen today. So I need to plan my week. I need to think that way for that. Otherwise, it probably doesn't happen. So that's more structured right the way down to weekly planning and setting in order to achieve it. In other areas, less so. I have a goal to earn a revenue goal this year. I know the sort of clients and days that I need to do, and it's much more harder to be more specific with what I need to do every single day or whatever to achieve that goal. So it's a little more loose. So I hope that makes sense. Follow energy, not ideas, and you've got to find what works for you. If it's working for you, it doesn't matter what I say or any guru says. Your own experience should be the validation that you're looking for. The thing is to understand yourself better, understand the way that things work for you. Whenever I create any kind of tool or I create a guide, I have to be general, and then you plug your specifics into it. So I hope that helps. And lastly, inner wisdom knows best. Your inner wisdom knows best, knows better than anyone else. So use that inner wisdom, which is your energy, to let you know what to do. So thanks for the question, Brian. Mark Saville. Okay, thanks for putting this together. Looking forward to listening to the recording and everyone else's questions. How do you fully become the be in the be, do, have? So, good question. Now, let's first remind ourselves of what be, do, have is, especially if you've not heard of this before. So be is mindset and awareness. Do is actions and behaviors. Have is outcome and results. Now, typically we've been trained to do this model back to front. We sort of a do to have type model. So I know what I need to do in order to have. I know what I need to do, get a job in order to have money, right? And then I might be happy when I've got the money. So we put the be, the happiness, the mindset, the positivity sometime in the future that I'm going to bump into it. And it's not the way that it really works. Start with be, flow to do, to have is always a better approach. So be, do, have. So how do we become the be in the be, do, have? So the first thing is you need to understand your values. Your values are really like a thumbprint. They're so unique to you. You need to know what your values, because your values are what energize you. They're part of what makes you you. They're part of the beingness of you. And don't have time to go into this in detail now, Mark, but if you go on to midlifemaverick.com, I've got a very, very good article in there all about values, how to find out what your values are, how to write a value statement. It's one of the highest read pages on my blog, so it's really enjoyed by a lot of people. If you can't find it, let me know and I'll send you the link to get straight there. Should be fairly easy for you to do. Secondly, here's a good way of figuring out what beingness or ways of being make a difference. Good things happen when I'm being, or good things happen to me when I'm being X. So for me, I know when I'm being grateful, good things seems to happen to me. When I'm being caring, good things seem to happen. When I'm contributing and serving, like I do through Midlife Maverick and Follow Your Smile and the Advanced Mind Power Training, good things happen. So pay attention over a week or a couple of weeks to when good things happen. How are you being? What are your ways of being that seem to make a difference for you? And then set yourself 5 being goals, 5 ways of being that you can then evaluate at the end of each day to see how have I done? How many times a day have I really been in that state of being, that way of being today? Often we don't look at beingness. We don't think about beingness. Like, how are you being right now? What words would you use to describe your way of being right now? Could be attentive, could be curious, could be confused, right? But we don't think about it. And in order to be able to achieve more of the things that we want in life, it's essential. Beingness is essential. So, hope that was helpful, Mark. And there we are. We've come to the end of this video, so thank you very much. Let me know in the comments below, was it useful? Did you find it useful? Would you like more of this type of thing? You can email me there at info@midlifemaverick.com if you have any questions or anything that you would like to suggest. And there's the link, advancedmindpowertraining.com. There's an hour and 15 minutes of advanced mind power training. Very, very good information. It's got lots of great feedback. It's really helping a lot of people around mindset and mind power and some things to focus on. If you've not seen that, go there and get that free training. So that's me. I'm done. Thank you very much for listening. This is Colin Hiles from midlifemaverick.com. See you next time.